Welcome back, Savages. Tonight it's Halloween Part 2, and we're talking werewolves.
Woo! We made it through an intro.
I know! I did it! All right, so tonight we're talking our second favorite topic. I'm done. I quit. Find yourself a third.
You're not allowed out. You're going to have to go through me.
As I was saying, we are talking werewolves tonight. And I like this topic because it's not just like mythical movies, but it actually goes back to like native culture, religion aspect of those things. So in the native culture, from different things that I've read, is that werewolves were considered to be men that have taken on their spirit animal. It wasn't just wolves. It's different, like whatever their spirit animal is, that they were able to take on that role. There was also the man took in the wolf, I think, to protect his land or something? I
believe so.
To protect his land or something like that. Right. But because of that, the curse that was put upon him was that he would change every full moon. Mm-hmm. But it was never that he would go on like a rampage. It was just that he was cursed to live as a wolf for like a 24-hour time period. Mm-hmm. Which I think would be
I was going to say 24 hours? You just gotta...
But it's like, it's the process that they go to. Like, because like seeing it in like the movie.
Painful.
Right.
Yeah, it really does.
Like seeing it in movies and whatnot, they always get close-ups of like how they transition, and you can hear their ribs breaking and their legs breaking and their arms breaking, and then all of a sudden like how their fingernails are just growing into these these talons and whatnot.
Claws.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta keep them pre-clawed, so that way there's not a whole lot to go with the nails. Yeah.
I think then you turn into Wolverine. And then you get like the whole comic universe into it, and it doesn't. No.
I'll stick with the werewolf. I know who Wolverine is, but I never got into DC.
Well, there's Wolverine with the claws, and then there's, I'm pretty sure he's called the Beast, but he just looks like a wolf all the time.
I was a Marvel kid.
I DC. All the way. Except for Deadpool.
Deadpool's not a superhero.
He is now.
Anyway, werewolves.
So I know with the native culture, there was back and forth about like the werewolf lore. Mm-hmm. There's the European. Oh my God! I get the intro right, and then I can't talk the rest of the time.
European pee. Yep, they do that.
There is the European.
Yeah.
And then there's the European, there's the American, which is stupid. But they have like lycanthrope or lycanthropy, which is the same thing as werewolf. Mm-hmm. I think it's just described differently as how they came to
lycanthropy is more of a like
you're born.
Yeah, I think lycanthropy is more you're born it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whereas like werewolf is more you came
right.
in.
You're cursed to live once a month, as far as like lycanthropy, your human body has more characteristics of being a werewolf. Like, you know, you've got hair all over your body that's usually like thicker. Your nails are usually longer, thicker. Like the way you're built is usually different.
They even have a whole different walk than the normal average.
Yeah. They're usually like big.
Oh yeah, you gotta have the muscles to go with the wolf part.
I'll take 2.
Going to a bar, yes. Can I have 2 lycanthropy, please?
Yeah, right? So as far as like the werewolf perception, we know in movies that it's always a young guy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Always.
Well, it doesn't, and I might be pulling this out of nowhere.
The Wolfman was older. Mm-hmm. She's never seen it.
No. Doesn't the word werewolf, like where is derived from the word man.
Yeah, it's called Wolfman.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Or Man of Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's usually the only female versions of werewolves I know of are the stupid Ginger Snaps movie. She was a werewolf. But as far as like other things of werewolves, it's always been men.
Yeah, I haven't even found any references to females.
No. Now females will bear them.
Yes.
But I don't think the females actually transform. I think it's always the men.
I don't know. The only thing that I've on TV that I've ever seen was Wednesday.
Because I was thinking Supernatural.
Oh, yeah. But I was thinking Wednesday because her friend hadn't gotten her wolf yet. And then she finally did there at the end. And
I never watched it. No.
Nope.
I have yet to watch it. Listen, I'm almost finished with Law and Order, okay? I started binging Law and Order, and I just finished Grotesquerie. I'm working my way down the line here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But, yes, I know the werewolf thing with Wednesday, because it was in the comics and stuff, too.
Yeah. But that's the only female one I've seen besides, what one was it you said?
Supernatural Madison, Sam's.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the episode that they first got introduced. They were like, "Oh, there's no way." It's like, yes, it is. And
yeah.
I think with the lore of werewolves, it's just always men because men can handle the transformation, whereas I don't think women.
That's what
women are too busy being witches.
We can bear children. We can handle turning into a wolf. Come on now.
Right.
Well, no, because the women were too busy being witches to be a werewolf.
True that we were summoning the werewolves.
Right. The women were too busy being naked and dancing in the woods, while the men were transforming into wolves and eating livestock.
I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible.
It's in my Bible.
Not the one that I read. But yeah, I think that was the whole misconception is that women will bear the children that become the wolves, but they don't actually they don't become the wolves themselves. Mm-hmm. Because in any movie that I have seen, every comic book, every TV show, every podcast I've ever heard it's always a man.
Mm-hmm. And again, it comes from the man wolf. And some of the first stories I remember hearing about one, it was, a guy who was notoriously hairy at all times. And in this little, town, their livestock started just dying. And they were like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. And someone caught him
feasting. Mid-bite.
Oops, sorry. I was in there, and they were like, oh, it's clearly you. And then I think that they I don't remember a whole lot of it.
They just let him feast?
No, they killed him.
I wouldn't interrupt him until he was nice and full, and then I'd be like, excuse me.
Well, you got to think at that time, your livestock was your livelihood.
Right. I'm still not bothering him until he's nice and full.
Yeah.
Those don't stop werewolves.
Not unless you have a silver bullet.
Right. And how many of us just happen to... Oh, here you go.
I've got enough supernatural paraphernalia. I probably have one somewhere.
I learned a new trick watching it, though.
Oh.
You got to put the devil's on the bullet before you
I know
shoot
what part
them.
she's in.
The
whole silver bullet thing,
I'm
pretty sure came about because we were running out of ammo, so we were melting down. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Yeah, well, but also back to the whole silver was considered pure. Therefore, it... in religion, it was considered pure.
It kills
therefore,
evil.
it would kill impure things. So that's why you got the silver bullets, the silver mirror. They put silver in everything.
Yes.
I know. I go to places and they're like, it says sterling, or it says sterling silver, and I'm like, am I gonna burn if I touch that?
I think that's probably why they call it silverware, because it was made out of silver.
It did. It used to be silver.
But that is the misconception, though, with the werewolf lore, is that they don't have a problem.
Right.
Going into, like, churches, religion, things like that.
Nope.
Which is why werewolves are really hard to detect amongst the humans.
Yeah.
Until the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then in the, the little cities, when livestock starts going missing and it's all shorn to shreds, they're like, oh, werewolves, who did it?
Yeah. Come full moon and you start hearing all the howls and...
You see Steve walking down. You see Steve
Harry
running down the street. His pants are all ripped. His shoes are broken.
And then you hear him screaming, and then all you hear next is, howl!
Right. Hey, Steve.
That's just
Bye,
Steve.
Don't eat my cow, please.
I need that,
And Steve just lives in this, like, little bungalow that's painted yellow. And he just got
Why is it painted yellow?
I don't know. He's got, like,
Because Steve's a happy person when he's not a werewolf.
Right. And then, the next morning, they find him in the middle of a pasture, and he's got blood on his face, and he's naked and he's like, where did I go? And the guy just walks up to him and hands him some clothes, and he goes, here, Steve, you killed 3 of my cows, that'll be $800, and off he goes. And Steve lives his life like normal, and when new people come to town, they're like, yep, that's just Steve.
You see all the new people coming out on their porch when they hear all the ruckus. And neighbors like, that's just Steve. He'll be fine by tomorrow.
Like, I don't see poor Kyle killed her with Steve.
You just keep going.
Listen, when I get into, like, a scenario, I just keep going. That's how you sell a story.
Oh, boy. Oh. Mm-hmm.
You gotta give all the details. You gotta set the scene.
And I can see the whole thing in my head.
There you go. This is why I write books for a living. But werewolves were always words. Werewolf people are hard to detect amongst the others because they learn how to blend into society. Mm-hmm. And we know that because of the media, we always see that they're, like, chaining themselves into some kind of room.
Yeah.
So they don't go out and kill cattle.
Now there,
yes, Steve.
Now there are the other circumstances in movie and TV, and even some lore out there, that the only other thing that can make them change is extreme anger or protection.
So they're the Hulk?
Yes. Pretty much.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, say Hulk. Steve is married to Susie. And
not Susie.
Susie?
She's a garden tool.
Steve's married to Susie. And Jim from down the road sees Susie at the bar one day, and Steve's over there shooting pool, and he decides he's going to go hit on Susie, and Steve...
Not Susie.
The garden tool. And then Steve loses his mind, and he wolfs out, and then he...
And they're like, gosh darn it, Steve.
Kills poor Jim. I told you, Jim, not to mess with Susie. Jesus Christ.
We've lost the plot.
No, we're just circling back to Steve and how Steve became a werewolf.
Now, see, if I was Steve, I would feel like on the full moon, I would just, like, go to, like, a field or something that, like, I'm far enough away that I'm not going to harm my friends or their livestock.
Well, that's a lot of the different lores and research and wiki and all the other crap is that the full moon puts out this, like, energy, and we all know we all feel it when it happens. That it puts out this energy that they soak up, and it, like, just releases their animalistic side. And there are some that believe that being outside in nature when you transform is better than being locked up. Because either way, your animal instincts are going to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And there is lore that if you do lock yourself in a room, like chained up, like some of the things,
you're more aggressive.
You will go crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you do that to a rabid dog, they're gonna freak out. You let that rabid dog go run in a closed-in place, they're gonna be less freaked out, and they're just gonna run until they are done.
Right.
Yeah.
So once a month of the year, Susie has to lock up Steve so Steve can't eat the cows. And then that just makes Steve even more aggressive. And then they got to put more bars downstairs because Susie can't control Steve.
Eventually, Susie sends Steve off to a farm once a month.
But back in the day when most of these stories were from, like eons ago, they didn't have the ability or the money to just get on a plane and
that's
go.
why they would shoot
And
him.
it was always like a newcomer too.
Mm-hmm.
It was never somebody like.
Well, it's because in the last town, Steve already ate all the cows.
Right. Steve's
They kicked him out.
Yeah, they're like, we're done with you, Steve.
But it's always an outsider. It's always somebody who's traveled far wide.
Yeah.
Because from a storytelling standpoint, that adds more mystery. Yeah.
Mystique.
That.
There you go. Well, yeah, because they're like, they know nothing about this person, and then all of a sudden their livestock and their cattle and their people start disappearing.
Yeah.
Which,
damn, Steve.
Right.
But there's
and then
also
Susie falls in love.
And they have little pups.
Aw.
Poor Steve.
I was gonna say, do you think that Susie would have like a litter or just one like normal human?
Well, she's human, so she's the one burying them. So I would say it would be just one.
It's
just
either one or like
now,
twins.
if it was a female werewolf, she would have
She'd
a litter.
And
But if they're boys, off with their heads right away.
I forgot. You all got me all sidetracked with Steve and Susie having puppies. But it always goes back to, like, it's the newcomer.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like, people start disappearing and they're like, instantly they point fingers to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden this guy just disappears. And, like, you see it, like, through the legends of, okay, there was this family and then all of a sudden this guy disappeared and then he popped up here. Then they disappeared and they popped up over here.
This is usually like somebody that floats through and becomes a firm hand or whatever.
Which there were a lot of at that time, because if you don't got no family and you don't got no money,
right,
you just kind of go, and then once this place is out of work, you go to the next place that does have work.
Yep.
Right.
So you don't think anything of it when somebody strange comes into town and they need a job, and then all of a sudden it's full moon, things start dying and disappearing.
Yeah.
And then Steve moves on to the next town.
Leaving Susie brokenhearted.
With their puppies. Oh, I don't know. This is going to be a whole story about Steve and Susie. According to some of the research that I've done, werewolves have also been a part of witchcraft, as we know, because there have been stories that men have gone to witches who have cursed them to change because they were wronged, because, you know...
Isn't that the Beauty and the Beast story?
Yeah.
But he's not a werewolf.
No, but he's considered an animal.
Yeah. Werewolf-esque.
Well, it depends, because if you've ever seen the French version of Beauty and the Beast...
I don't speak French, so no.
I don't... It's not French. They do actually speak, like, crappy English in the movie, but it's a really good one. In the French version of Beauty and the Beast, he does look like a werewolf.
Oh, okay.
Like, he...
Well,
like,
I'd assume that when the... I think it was the Grimm brothers that originally wrote it, because they did a lot of Disney stuff.
yes.
I'd assume that werewolf lore is where they got
Beauty
that
and the Beast.
starting
Yeah.
point, because the whole thing is, gross person comes up and he's like, "You're too gross for me," and then she becomes all beautiful. It's like, "How dare you? No, you're a monster." And
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, the whole point of was like, you know, the witches cursed them because they wronged them, and then And they're like, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. And then all of a sudden the full moon hits and they're like, oh my God, I'm a dog.
I'm growing hair.
Yeah. And then their animalistic side takes over and they just want to eat everything that they see.
Yeah.
But then in some cases, you have where the men are transformed so that they can protect their town, their people, and whatnot. Because there are some stories that I've read where there is a family that is known in town that protects the town, and everybody just lives happily ever after because, here's a cow and have at it.
Steve had the town protected.
Yeah.
So they throw him a cow once in a while.
Right.
On full moon, they're like, here's a cow, dude.
I do apologize for anybody named Steve. It's just a name. It's a good name. Which Steve is just the first one that comes to my head every time we talk about something. It's just Steve. But yeah, so witches and werewolves go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about witches and the fact that people think that we can just summon everything. Because at this point, I'm convinced that witches and vampires and werewolves, we just do it all.
Are you telling me you're not a witch, vampire, werewolf? Well, that's why there are no female werewolves, because they're all werecats.
I would much rather come up against a werewolf than a werecat.
Those things are mean.
I don't want to have anything to do with any sort of crazy cat. I'm good.
That's true. Yeah.
I was going to say, you feed that thing too late, it transforms and...
No.
I'm saying, like, if you have a girlfriend...
No,
I'm saying, like, girlfriend, their feeding time is this time. You feed them too late, they get angry, and then they try to kill you.
Yeah.
Gremlin.
I'm talking about my cat.
I mean, to a point, they are correct. Witches can pretty much summon anything.
Yes.
Oh, but also on that, anyone can summon anything if you say words wrong enough.
Right.
Or you draw sigils, and that's how you end up with a 6'2" demon with a nose ring.
Demondit.com.
But yes, it has been, you summon things the wrong way, and then all of a sudden, you're a werewolf with 2 tails and 8 eyes.
No, that's inbreeding.
So, yeah. Lycanthropy is considered a medical condition.
Yes.
Or was considered a medical condition at one time.
Mm-hmm. It's when you would grow an excessive amount of hair, right?
Yes.
Like you just had hair
And you
everywhere.
had
Like
different physical features. They
Yes.
were more, like, more broad-shouldered, more...
broad-shouldered hair that usually covers more than 50% of your body. Your blood is different.
does it taste better?
It's not fruit punch.
I don't like fruit punch. Is it cherry flavored?
Ew. You just, no. Your blood type and your blood is different. Like your eyes, a lot of the time they can have weird eye colors. And again, depending on what century that you were in, this all goes back to witchcraft of, oh my God,
Yeah.
Well, because people are different.
You are the devil.
You were different. Obviously, you sold your soul to the devil and
This is what
signed your
happens.
book in blood and whatnot. And
You live by 5 of
You can't
them.
dig in that.
you
We'll
can
go
if you
up
try
by the
hard
church.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go up by that church and we'll dig.
Okay.
And we summon something though. Somebody's got to send it back.
I'll take it home with me if it's
6
nice.
6'2" with a nose ring.
Yeah. We'll take them home.
It's a character in a book, and that's how he's described: is 6'2", long black hair, and a nose ring. And the picture of him on the book is just magnificent. So werewolves are described as being a mythological creature, which we can go back to them being cryptids, in a sense.
Well, you've got the whole Dogman thing, which is kind of along the same line.
No. We're not talking about him. Bad things happen.
He is a precursor of destruction.
We're not talking about him today. But yes, you have Dogman, and then you have the Wolfman, which are supposedly different
Well,
but the
obviously
same.
one's a dog and one's a wolf.
But it's similarly the same thing, except Dogman he's a dog all the time. Where werewolves, they transform.
So he's a reverse one.
Yes.
Does he turn to a human at the full moon?
No, I think he's like a mix of the two. He will actually walk on two legs.
If I see a dog walking on two legs, I am running.
It's been a long time since I talked about Dogman. I would have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure he walked on two legs, and he is like a mix of a dog and a man.
Yeah. Where werewolves, they transform once a month.
Yeah,
And they walk on all four.
He stays in this form.
He stays in that form all the time. And then, whereas he walks on two legs, whereas werewolves, they usually walk on four. Usually, but I think like a lot of movies and things show that as they're transforming, they're on two legs, and then they slowly shift
down
to.
Well, yeah, you got to get your dog legs ready to go.
Right, and then this whole topic can go back to people when because there are numerous papers and research and things all over the internet and whatnot, and in books and news articles of people seeing werewolves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that there are wolves that are abnormally large.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are going extinct, so there are a lot of them that are now in captivity and in sanctuaries and stuff. But I mean, I've seen videos where, this girl, she's 5'4", which is how tall I am, and there's a wolf that his head.
I follow a group of them. They have a whole pack of them.
Yeah, they're massive.
They have a whole pack of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh my God, they are the most magnificent creatures.
Yeah.
I just want to squish them.
They bite you.
No,
so
these
fast.
are domesticated.
Oh.
Yes.
Mostly. They could still turn, but they have been raising them since pups.
Yeah.
And they live with them in their house, and they have a huge land for them, too. But
yeah, but people don't realize that just like bears and whatnot, wolves come in all different shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. And there are wolves who are abnormally large. Mm-hmm. And that they can stand up on two legs, especially if they're going into attack mode.
Yeah.
And that, yes, their howl is very loud. Because that's the other thing is, it's, the whole thing about if you hear this distinctive howl, it's a werewolf. But people, especially like European areas, like people that live where wolves are, I don't think people realize that the howls for wolves can reach miles.
Well, that's the whole purpose of it. How they communicate.
Yeah, and it's loud, and it's got a very distinct pitch because wolves are calling other wolves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or warning them, depending on the situation.
Just like if anybody's ever heard a coyote, especially in the area that we live. Especially if an ambulance goes by, coyotes are near, because all of a sudden you're gonna start hearing the howling, and you're gonna think that they're in their Jesus.
That they're in your backyard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, where we used to live, they were in our backyard.
Yeah, same. My old house they were there.
Running through here all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, just because this is what you hear doesn't always mean that's what it's gonna be. But as far as the werewolf lore and whatnot, because of the native culture, I wholeheartedly believe in some type of that. Mm-hmm. Because Native American culture to me is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's fascinating, but it really is.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Native American lore and legends and whatnot, I will never down anything that they have to say and whatnot and what they believe. Oh, I believe it.
They were so in tune with everything.
Yeah.
They possessed abilities that we can only dream of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the things that, that are passed down from ancestor to ancestor and whatnot, I would never not believe anything that they say.
Right.
If they're here, take this herb, it's going to heal you. Done. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And the Native American culture and the Native American people, the, indigenous, however you want to say it, like, I wholeheartedly believe everything that they've ever written about werewolves. And, like, how they've come to be and, like, how you get rid of them and all this other stuff just because of how in tuned to nature they are.
But they could also be one of the greatest gifts that are given to you.
Yes.
You take care of them, they will take care of you.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes with anything. Animals now, like, things and whatnot. You take care of them, they take care of you. Kind of thing.
Someone needs to tell that to my cats.
Listen,
they are a whole nother species.
I'm not surprised.
Hey.
Well, you did too.
Meek isn't named after a demon.
What is he named after?
Ram is. Meek isn't.
Well, I know Ram is. I mean, you've got Azazel Dean.
I do.
Meek is named after an alien from Thor.
Though.
Oh, okay.
He's twisted in
Years.
I really should have named him Crowley, though.
I told you
Crowley
multiple
is my
times.
Crowley is my dude.
I told you. Wait until you meet Crowley.
He's not a real demon.
Yeah, he is. He's a crossroad demon.
But in real life,
Oh,
Crowley is not a demon.
Especially movies of werewolves. It seems like it's always the same storyline.
Yeah,
because it works.
But it's a stupid storyline.
If it'll make those people money, they don't care.
It's always the same storyline of this guy's not popular, and then all of a sudden he's walking down the street, gets bit by Steve, then he's transformed into a wolf, and then all of a sudden he gets the pretty girl, and he's a jock, and all this other stuff.
A lot of the vampire movies were like that, too.
I was going to say.
Because it's all the mystery and the intrigue of something different. Mm-hmm. Now they possess these supernatural abilities, and now their
skin glitters.
Yeah, they glow, and but yeah, there's. But even still, even going back through the lore, there's really werewolves came. They either protected or they destroyed. That was it.
Or there was the people that were born like with the lycanthropy.
Yeah.
Medical issues where then people were like, oh no, we'll stone you and
you're different,
throw them away or take them outside and leave them in the barn. Well, then you have those kids that were raised by wolves. There was that huge story that went out of kids that were raised by wolves, which I think it was just a little girl that got lost in the woods or whatever. Something like that. I
don't know.
But then she came out very animalistic and whatnot, which in certain time frames, there were children who were very animalistic because of the things that were wrong with them and the fact that people didn't understand. There was a legit medical condition.
Right. And again, that was one of those, you're weird, you're different.
Obviously, you sold your soul to the devil, and...
Now I have a little werewolf cub running around my house. Well, you see, in a lot of the representations of, werewolves is they live in, the middle of nowhere, run-down farmhouse, unless you get
because they're ostracized.
Right, unless you get the families that stay under the radar, then they live in, plantation houses, basically.
Well, yeah, you make a cow instead of sending it off to a slaughterhouse so then you just go eat it.
Right. And then you've got, these big concrete, buildings that they can live in so they can chain themselves to the wall and whatnot. But they have all this money because...
They don't have to pay the butcher fees.
Right. And they don't pay taxes because they eat the tax man.
Right?
I wish we could do that now. Our taxes are outrageous. But that's the thing, is that... You have two opposite ends of the spectrum, which is you have the werewolf people that live in poverty. They live in rundown shacks, whatnot. And then you have the ones that are, living in mansions.
Because they've learned how to coexist and use their uniqueness
generally
to get what they want.
Yes.
Generally the ones that familial thing, my family's been this for generations, and the other ones that I'm just turned, have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I'm on my own and don't know what to do.
And then you have the immortality aspect of it, is you have on one end where they say werewolves are immortal, and they, they hit a certain point and then they stop aging. And then you have the other ones where it's just with how humans are, how their generation, will eventually die, and then it passes on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one.
Do you think that they age like dogs or like humans, though? I'm just saying, well, if you got both, one ages a lot faster than the other one does.
I'm pretty sure that the human ages like the human, and then eventually you'll just have some old, saggy werewolf running around who's just like, old when he walks.
Got hip dysplasia.
Gotta take some Denamarin for his joints every day. But no, like, in everything that I've seen, it's like the human is old, and then eventually they just stop transforming because their body can't handle it.
Well, also, in theory, you get to a certain point, the wolf has died.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. If
a wolf only lives for 12 years. If
you're looking at it as like a spiritual animal aspect of it, yes. I mean, I could see that, where the wolf would die, but the human continues to live up until a certain point, and then everybody just...
Yeah. Or and until you pay your penance if you were given
if you're cursed.
Yeah. And then the immortality aspect of it is, they hit a certain point and then they stop aging, but their wolf still looks like it ages, which is weird. But it doesn't actually.
So there's 1 day a month that you just become all of the arthritis.
Yeah.
Just all.
Your legs are just...
You don't need to be chained up too tight then.
Right.
You're just like, all you gotta do is put a set of stairs. Oh, man.
That's Granddad in the basement. He can't break out them chains no more. You can just hear him howling.
It's not like I'm in so much pain howl. You put me out of my misery.
Oh, man.
Well, then there's that, too. There are references that if you kill a werewolf, it transforms back into the human.
Yes.
It transitions back into the human.
Yes.
So then it becomes like a whole thing of, well, did you kill a man or did you kill a dog? Because a lot of the times we've seen where, the werewolf is shot with something, and then all of a sudden it's back to being
the body
human.
laying on the ground.
Right, and then people are like, well, I thought you shot at it. Well, I did. Well, then why is Steve laying in the middle
why
of the
did you
ditch?
shoot Steve?
Right. It goes back to that whole thing.
How many stories of those do you think was in the time of, I just didn't like this dude, so I shot him, and
but really,
I'm gonna
swear it was a werewolf.
I swear it was a wolf that I shot at.
Well, exactly. Like, there are probably hundreds that we don't know about, especially coming from, like, the little towns that, don't have a lot of electricity, power, all that stuff, where things like the chupacabra and all those other things have popped up. You get people that just start telling stories, and then those stories continue, and those stories continue until something actually happens, and they're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Who is this person, and why did this just happen? And then they start going on a witch hunt of, okay, who are you? And then they're like, you have people that are sitting outside their houses, on the full moon waiting to see Steve running by so they can be like, oh, look, there he goes. We knew he was real. Kind of thing, because everybody always wants to catch evidence, but when they don't, it's a whole thing. I mean, there is evidence that people have gotten like fur from a werewolf and that they've tested it and whatnot, which goes back to the whole cryptid thing of, this is the evidence we have, but we have not been able to really link it to anybody else.
Right. I mean, so in all probability,
there could be werewolves.
There could be werewolves out there. You don't know, except for one night a month when Steve comes and
knocking on the door.
Hey, you got any beef in there? Uncooked, preferably.
I think we're done with.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve, and your worms. Bye, guys.